Welcome. These will be my thoughts on Fear the Walking Dead, Season 2, Episode 7, Shiva. The episode is rated TVMA, so this video there will be spoilers for the show, live-action Walking Dead shows leading up to and including this episode, but not for anything that came after this episode first premiered, and another episode that I absolutely loved. So, I think we're gonna keep it chronological. So, yeah. Uh, let's see. I think the very first thing we saw was the well, various reactions to the gunshot. One of them being the nightmare Daniel had. Really appreciate getting more of his like psyche, his situation. The yeah, just oh, actually, was the very first thing. Yeah, I think the we open on his memory and yeah, the way that when we first see it, we see a lot of dead, and then later when it's revisited, we see there was someone still left alive, and Daniel was made to finish that person off. That's genuinely horrifying. And yeah, so he wakes up to the sound of a gunshot, and then they try to run, but there's something wrong. She can't keep up, and it's really nicely done because I only realized right before it was revealed that that was a nightmare, because it seemed like, yeah, that's exactly what would happen in this situation. But it's when she's like pulling on her the face skin and just acting like it's nothing. At that point it's like, okay, this must be a nightmare. But and then he wakes up and she's not there, man. That is a very, very effective bit of yeah, filmmaking. Just and I think the next thing might be the yeah, so basically everyone gathers to see what happened. And also because this is the closest they're gonna get to a soap opera in these days. But yeah, Celia understandably very upset. We've now seen her very upset with Strand, and yeah, Nick trying desperately to get her to let them stay. And yeah, I really appreciate this dynamic, this thing of, he feels like Celia. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's laid out very well later. The thing about, Mama Celia. Um, yeah, I think it's Strand who spells it out. Very nicely done. And yeah, I mean, Nick is feeling like this is, you know, it's something he can make this work. He can accomplish something, and there are a number of recovering, people recovering from addiction who feel like they have to do something to make it feel like, because one of the reasons they used was they didn't feel good about themselves, and so they're trying to avoid that. They yeah. And I think that does pretty much cover. Let's see. So the yeah, and Celia saying, you you know, you have to leave by midnight tonight. And nicely done, because like by the end of the episode they are leaving, but for a different reason. So it's this like expectation subversion, because yeah, I spent a decent chunk of this episode thinking like, I mean, as long as she has you know, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Louise back. That should be that should mean they get to stay, but then Daniel, yeah, fucks things up. Understandably, we get where he's coming from. And then, you know, once Madison locked up Celia, I was thinking, oh, I mean, maybe it's possible the rest of the staff would accept that if there was a sufficient story. But then Daniel, this is his fucking up episode, I guess. But once again, like, no, seriously, genuinely emotionally engaging. Yeah. Anyway, I think that does pretty well bring us to the let's see. Yeah, also this distinction between, Celia was okay with, the two of them, Strand and Tom, dying or turning. She doesn't see it as dying, but Thomas dying without turning, without any chance of turning, that is unacceptable to her. And yeah, I think, and yeah, like, ultimately, like, I don't know, I'm not 100% certain how the episode, maybe it's not telling me exactly how to feel anyway, but personally, I've never really been of the belief that, your decision regarding suicide, whether you do it or don't do it, I don't think it's selfish. Like, obviously, if you are struggling with thoughts, please try to talk to someone, a lot of different parts of the world. There's going to be someone local that you can talk to anonymously in many, many cases. But I appreciate some read this sort of thing as, a cowardly act. But I think Strand is being merciful. He doesn't want someone he cares so much about to go through that. And let's see, I think yeah, I think that's when Travis leaves. And yeah, he really wants to help Chris. And so we split up the family unit. And yeah, very, very effective. He finds several people, several that have been stabbed on the way to Chris, which yeah, not really selling this idea of being okay, Chris. But then actually, yeah, I guess he's not even trying to. And yeah, genuinely very effective, this thing of like, I don't speak English, he says in Spanish. And then, and why do you have an English language children's book then? And yeah, very effective, because you've got that thing about, like, well, he said he would hurt my boy if I didn't make you leave. And I thought, like Travis did, oh, so he's like got a knife. But then he kicks open the door. It's like, no, he's got a gun. It's like, oh, fuck. That, yeah. And very nicely done by Travis, this thing of, saying, look at the boy, you know, you're scaring the little boy. And he can't help but look. because he does have some empathy left, and that's just enough time for Travis to get the gun out of his hand. And then when Nick does show, he just tells him, say that you couldn't find us. And yeah, it really is like this kind of parental self-sacrifice. And I genuinely do not know if this, I wouldn't rule out completely this might be something that brings Chris back, that he ends up, being more well-adjusted. And I really do think they've done a great job, because like on his character, because one of the first things we found out about him was that he was struggling, you know. And before the zombie apocalypse, he was struggling in school, socially and such. So yeah. And I think that does bring us nicely to, yeah, Daniel, saying, come on, Ophelia, mom's at the gate. Oh God. And then, so yeah, when Celia tells him, it's your own dead you fear. Very true, and he even, like, when he sets fire, he doesn't see walkers, he sees those that he has killed. And he's reunited with her, which, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess this was the only thing that they... I was kind of hoping that this wouldn't be, but I don't know what else they would could do that would feel satisfying for this character, because he's done so many terrible things, and I really appreciate how many of them were kept off screen. It's sometimes it's said, sometimes it's just in a look or that sort of thing, but we don't need to spend forever just watching that sort of thing. And yeah, I mean, I think the yeah, and his escape was also very well done. He waits for, obviously it's not going to be Celia. She's not going to, she can see right through him. But this other guy is like, listen, obviously you need to eat, which is true, but then, he gets one of his hands free so that he can eat, and he pretends to be so frail that he can't hold he can't hold a candle to that spoon. I mean, he can't hold the spoon in his hand. And yeah, awesome move, as he breaks out of he breaks the chair, in fact, to get out of. And yeah, just I guess that pretty much covers that. So the yeah, very effective when they send Strand out, and there's this brief moment between Alicia and Victor. Apparently both of them have a question for the teacher, but we don't hear it. Okay. No, seriously though, genuinely appreciated that, because like, yeah, he really, in some cases, has come through for them. And loved his line about, don't worry about me, I'll hail a cab, or something like that. Yeah. And yeah, Maddie pointing out, listen, Strand saved my life. That's, oh my God, the part with Celia and Maddie in the with the cell, um, the cellar cell with no cell reception. I was sitting there thinking, Maddie, do not let Celia out of your sight. Don't be behind her in the cell, and then the exact opposite happened. And the thing about like, I would do anything for my son. You understand that, don't you? Yes, I do. And Celia's like, why am I such a wonderful teacher? Why couldn't she have not understood? But yeah. And also just the sort of, she doesn't beg or plead to be let out. She just kind of accepts it. She's with her son now. And I guess that pretty much, I feel like there's one more thing I wanted to say. Let's see. So the yeah, the fact that Nick makes sure to shower all the Walker guts and blood off him, and then says he's gonna go get some more. That okay. I mean, I guess he needed something to do in the scene, and maybe it would feel awkward if he was talking to Maddie while still wearing that. But anyway, I think yeah, it's not really a criticism, just something I noticed. Anyway, I feel like that is, it's definitely, there's at least one more thing. So, I'm just gonna mentally fast forward through the entire episode real quick. I think I've covered Daniel, Maddie, Travis, Chris. Yeah, the way that that Nick points out, look, you're talking to me like I'm using again. I can't talk to you when you get like this. Yeah, we can understand what he means. That is, and that is also, I mean, I think a case could be made that she's being overprotective. That because this, it is really working, this thing of the zombie guts, and he's making a good point. He went to get Louise back, and now they can stay. But of course, part of it is that she does not trust Celia. And yeah, really excited to see where it goes. Several of them are in the car leaving. Travis and Chris are off trying to make that family unit work. And I did also really appreciate Chris saying, that he can't be around people right now. He's dangerous. And there are, of course, a number of situations where such is true. And this is one, and that's also something worth noting. There are a number of people out there who deep down know that they're dangerous, and while I'm not, so the following isn't really targeted at um, anyone on the left, anyone on the far left at least, um, more conservatives, but I guess by now you're probably used to that from my videos. We really got to make sure that someone who feels like they're dangerous is able to tell someone and get help rather than be treated as if they've already done something that is like, past the pale, bail, ale. I forget how that saying goes. Because a lot, like you'll, yeah, I've already mentioned there are a number of people like that. And a bunch of the time, they couldn't tell anyone, and there are cases where some have told someone, and yeah, they were treated as if, oh, you have already done something, and that's gonna deter some people from, trying to get the help they need. I mean, Chris didn't have to run off. He could have stayed and, just like waited for the right moment or something. But, it was a wake-up call for him when they caught him with the knife in hand. That goes beyond the verbal threat he made earlier. And I also do think it's noteworthy that when he does make a run for it, he's still threatening. He threatens this man's son if the man is not able to get Travis to leave. And I mean, a good faith reading is, well, if Travis had left, Chris would have let them go, maybe even apologized, and then left and found somewhere else, tried to find a place where there either isn't anyone living or maybe it's so far away that Travis would not go all the way there, but he is still threatening people, and it seemed like a serious threat. He had the gun and everything. So, and he aimed it at, yeah. So, clearly he does need help. And I do also want to note there are a number of cishet young men, and I'm not saying that, we are such victims or something. Obviously, life is harder for minorities. But there are some young cishet men who feel like there's something wrong with them, even though it is, yeah, it is just a feeling. And again, like, we have to make sure there's outreach towards all of them. And, in my personal experience, a significant chunk of the far left are already on board with that. And if you are far left, you're not yet on board, if you're a member of a minority, I mean, I guess I could go on to say who have been hurt by young cishet, especially white conservative men, but I feel like that at this point goes without saying, especially in one of my videos. Obviously, I don't blame you for not wanting that, especially for not wanting to personally participate in that. Yeah, I think, I feel like that might just about yeah, I guess this is a decent enough time to say. Basically, I want everyone's problems solved to the best of our ability, and I mean actual problems. I'm not talking about how, bigots will say that the person or people they're bigoted towards are inherently a problem. But yeah, the fewer and smaller problems people have, the less likely they are to, say or do things that make the world a worse place. And I guess that does pretty much. And obviously, the further right you are, the more likely you are also to, if not personally engage in such, in these kinds of harmful activities, yeah, saying and doing things that make the world a worse place. You may not engage in them yourself, but you are more likely to make excuses for those who do. So that's also something, a lot of people ideally were able to convince to not be. But I don't know, hopefully I don't even have to say the following, but obviously I'm not talking about using violence. I'm talking about using arguments and making conditions better, proving that the far left, that we have the solutions to problems so that they don't feel inclined to turn towards. I mean, you are seeing gradually more and more people turning against Trump. Rebecca Watson, the skeptic, recently did a video on finding a silver lining to the, let's see, I want to say Supreme Court roundup decision. And yeah, she pointed to the fact that, oh, this is actually has some people, yeah, saying like, wait, but no, Trump was supposed to be against this sort of thing, and yeah, I think, yeah, I really appreciate that Daniel got to go out on his own terms, and it's this thing of like, obviously this means that they, I mean, I figure, yeah, they're probably gonna go back to the Abigail and go back on C. That would be my theory right now. I genuinely am not sure if we really aren't gonna see if Chris and Travis are just gonna stay on land. I mean, I could see it. Um, the sometimes these shows will split focus between two different, like when the governor was on the main show, we would see some stuff at the prison and also some stuff at his town, Woodbury, maybe? That sounds familiar. And that worked well. So maybe that's what they'll do on this show. And it's also possible, I guess, that they'll only occasionally check in or something, or maybe a while down the line they'll come back here and try to pick them up, and they can have some uncertainty about if Chris is better or if Travis is, because you could have Travis making a case for it, but maybe he's just spent so much time around Chris that he is no longer willing to see it or something. But anyway, I will say I was wondering if they really were going to, especially this early on, just have them stay at this completely different place and situation than the boat that they had set up as the new status quo by the end of season 1. Anyway, because yeah, like we're what, almost halfway through season 2. That seems early to make. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I guess it had only been about a third of this season that had been boat centric, because the episode before this one was yeah, they were at the mansion. But yeah, Daniel said this place is unholy. He didn't just say we have to deal with the, yeah, I guess ultimately he didn't particularly say, I don't think. It was Celia who showed Maddie all the, I don't know. But yeah, he said the entire place was unholy, not just, oh, we have to deal with the walkers in the cellar. And yeah, you of course have this element of cleansing fire, in addition to, of course, I appreciate technically it's the most efficient way for him to take them out. It's not gonna be what's the word? It's yeah, if he has to like destroy their heads one by one, or brains anyway. Yeah, I guess that pretty much, yeah. Um I like the part where the yeah, Celia is talking to Maddie and saying that she does not see this as yeah, she's like, this is not the apocalypse now. If this is the end of the world, I feel fine.